Time now for the big board, and our team of insiders lined up and ready to go. Let's start with a bizarre murder investigation in Michigan. Martin Durham was shot and killed in what was initially believed to be a failed double homicide. Martin's wife was shot and survived, but now his parents say Martin's pet Parrot was a witness to the crime and is mimicking a final feud, recreating both sides of the argument between the two. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the big thing is what the Parrot's saying could implicate his wife in his death. Take a listen.
Shut up! Get your over it now!
Wow. Isn't that chilling to hear that? All right, so joining us now, we have Alex Spiro, defense attorney. And Alex, the prosecutor says he is not aware of any precedent that's ever been set by having a parrot's testimony be entered into evidence. What do you think about the admissibility of something like this?
Well, certainly evidence of animal reactions has been present in cases insofar as, a dog barking at a suspect and then law enforcement focuses on that suspect. Now, obviously, there aren't very many animals that speak the English language, so this specific issue I don't think has been litigated. I would say it would come down to two things. Is the evidence relevant? I think in this case it would be. And then really the crux of it is going to be how reliable this kind of evidence would be.
Alex, please now say that the wife is a suspect. She has denied killing her husband. And as we talk about the Parrot possibly testimony being brought into evidence, you as a defense attorney, how would you counter that, Alex?
Well, I would want to know, is there a TV in the house? I mean, that kind of phraseology is often seen on television. Is it potentially mimicking television? I'd like to know the science behind how parrots mimic, how reliable it is, and is it potentially being taken out of context or from some other place? The timing of it and things such as that.
There's a reason why they call it parroting. I mean, it's like a recording. All right, very interesting, Alex.
It was. Thank you, Alex. We're going to move on to NBA superstar Steph Curry's big announcement revealing he is skipping the upcoming Olympic Games in Rio. He says several factors, including recent injuries, are contributing to his decision. ESPN's Brad Doherty is going to join us now live. Always good to see you, my man, Brad. Let's talk about Steph.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, he is saying, and we know that he's had injuries, especially this season, and he's saying that and other factors. What do you make of the other factors, Brad?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. The Zika virus scare has a lot of athletes considering their participation in the Olympics and whether or not they're going to go forward. You can't blame someone if they decide to step aside because of the uncertainty of the virus. So I think that is the other that we're hearing a lot of the athletes mention when they're contemplating participating.
Yeah, any backlash at all for Steph Curry on this? I mean, I know there's a lot of disappointment out there for sure.
Well, there's a lot of disappointment because he's the best player in the country and the best player in the world possibly, so we want to see him play. But I'm sure there'll be some backlash. There's always someone who has something to say. But at the end of the day, his health, his family, his career are the most important things. And, Steph has gone through a myriad of injuries with his right ankle. He's had surgery back in 2010. He's had torn ligaments in his right ankle. Then he sprained his right MCL and his right knee during the first round of the NBA playoffs. So the NBA playoffs, if you go to the finals, which they did last year and they're in again this year, it's 10 months long. So he only has 2 months to recover before the season is underway again. He needs that rest. But with the Zika concerns, I think that's very legitimate. And I know people want to try to stay away from that and sidestep it if you're an athlete, especially if you've worked your entire life to get to this point. But when you have more than 150 health officials, doctors, scientists, ethicists, writing letters to Dr. Margaret Chan, director of the World Health Organization, that's something to take very seriously.
Yeah, Dr. Richard Besser has been talking about that as well. And no doubt that Steph's injuries are a legitimate concern and a legitimate factor. But, Chris Paul, there are other all-stars that are saying they're not going to Rio. Brad?
Yeah, I think everyone looks at what happened to Paul George, the power forward who plays for Indiana, who had the horrific knee injury during the games a couple of years ago, and it derailed his career. He's bounced back and become a legitimate superstar again, but you have to take this into consideration when you're talking about your career, your health, and your family.
And the family. All right. Thanks, Brad.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Next up, a Maryland man named Tim Connor waging a war against the traffic app Waze after he says it rerouted highway cars through his tiny residential street at all hours of the day. We have Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary here from Shark Tank joining us now. And Kevin, Tim said he tried to fight back using the app by saying there was a traffic jam or a roadblock or an accident on his street. But obviously, they caught on pretty quickly that it wasn't true. Those Wazers know what they're doing. What's the best way for a little guy to take on a big company like Waze to try and keep his street quiet again?
Doing exactly what he did. Waze is basically a giant social network that uses motion in your cell phones to determine where traffic is. And of course, roads, all of us in America enjoy roads because we pay taxes to have them. They're open to the public. What this fellow has done is tried to game the system, to put bad data into the map, to make people think there was an accident on his street so they wouldn't use it as a detour. It doesn't work because clearly the system has algorithms that catches that kind of fraud, which is basically what it is. It's a form of fraud. But if you want to fight the big guy, if you really want to take on a giant app like Waze, which by the way is owned by Google, so not only is it Waze as the app, it's inside all Google Maps. This is ubiquitous globally almost. The point is, social media is how you do battle today against big companies. You and I are talking about this now because this story went viral. In the end, though, I think this benefits Waze more than anybody else. If you didn't know about the app, you certainly know about it now. It's on Good Morning America.
Yeah, they're handling it because you're right. They say they have 50 million users, and they said they get one complaint like this a month approximately. But you're right. We're talking about it. And so with social media, it can be effective, Kevin.
You're right. There's no question. And I use this product in New York, in Miami, in Los Angeles, Chicago. It works. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not going away anytime soon.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Alex and Brad as well, and Kevin.